This is the story of a poor young girl who sold matches in the street. This story took place a long, long time ago on a New Year's Eve. It was snowing heavily, and it was severely cold outside. In the cold and the darkness, there walked along the street a poor little girl. She had no extra clothes to cover herself from the cold. And she had no shoes to save her feet from the freezing cold. She had slippers on when she left home, but they were much too large for her feet. They were her mother's slippers. She sold matches for a living. That day, she left home to sell matches on the street as usual.
Oh God, it is snowing heavily. It is too cold today. What will I do? If I don't go to sell matches, my family will not be able to buy food.
She decided to brave the cold and sell matches. She was just about to cross the street when a horse carriage sped towards her. She was scared, and she ran across the street to save herself. She had lost both her slippers while she was running.
Oh, my slippers. I need them. My legs are getting cold.
She was just about to cross the street when a boy grabbed her slippers and ran away with them.
Hey, stop. Those are my slippers.
But the boy didn't. He ran away. So the little girl continued walking with her bare feet. Her feet had turned blue in the chilling cold.
My leg, they are paining. Oh, it's so cold today.
In an old apron that she wore, she had bundles of matches, and she also carried a bundle in her hand. She sat a corner in the street and waited for customers to buy matches from her. She waited for a long time, but no one came to her. She never lost her hope and continued to wait for customers. It was snowing heavily now. The poor little girl was shivering with cold and hunger. The snowflakes fell on her long hair, and she wiped it off of her shoulders. She smelled a roasted goose being cooked at a nearby house.
People are celebrating today, but there's nothing to eat at my house. God, please help me to sell some matchsticks.
The little match girl then continued to wait for a customer.
Oh God, please help me to sell these matches. I also want to buy a goose for my family.
She tried keeping her little feet underneath herself to cover from the cold, but that was of no use. She wanted to go home because of the cold, but then what would she tell her family? Her father would definitely be angry at her if she returned home without any money in hand. She looked around at the beautiful mansions in the street. She thought about her home. It had only a roof above, and that too was full of holes. Her little hands were nearly frozen with cold now.
I can light a match to warm my fingers.
So at last, she drew one match out and struck it. It gave out a warm, bright flame like a little candle, and she held her hands over it. The fire warmed her fingers.
Oh, it feels so good. I'm getting better now.
But once the flame went out, she started feeling the cold again. So she rubbed another match against the wall. It burned brightly. Then a miracle happened. She could see through the wall where the light of the match fell. She could see what was going on inside the house. She was being pushed into the world of fantasy. She could see everything in that room. There was a white cloth spread on the table, and there were some nice plates arranged on top of it. A stuffed roasted goose was placed at the center, and it had a delicious smell. Then she saw something she couldn't believe. The goose jumped from the dish with a knife and fork still in its breast, and it ran straight towards the little girl. But the match went out, and everything vanished quickly. Then she lit another match. This time, she saw another fantasy. She was under the most beautiful Christmas tree, larger and far more prettily decorated than the one she had so far. She was fascinated by that Christmas tree. She walked forward and stretched out her hands to touch them, but then the match went out. Then she struck another match. This time, she saw a long trail of light in the sky.
Huh? It looks like a star has fallen from the heavens. It seems someone is going to die tonight.
It was her grandmother who told her that if a star falls from the sky, then someone will definitely die to send the soul back to heaven. She struck another match against the wall. In the brightness, she saw her dear old grandmother. She loved her grandmother a lot. Her grandmother always showered her with love and kindness. She moved the light to the front and saw the smiling face of her grandmother. She was so happy to see her grandma right there. Then she started crying.
Oh, dear Grandma, please take me with you. I know you will go away when the match burns out. You too will vanish, like the New Year's feast and the beautiful Christmas tree.
The little match girl didn't want her grandmother to leave. She knew that her grandmother will vanish when the light burns out. So this time, she lit the whole matchsticks together. The match burned a shining light. Grandmother then came close to the little girl. She looked at her with compassion. She took the little girl in her arms and flew up into the sky. They flew far above the earth, away from cold and hunger, to the heavens. The next morning, people gathered around the dead body of the little match girl. She was frozen to death the previous night. Her body was leaning against the wall with a smiling face. People wondered how could anyone die with a smiling face, but no one could imagine the beautiful things she had seen, or how happily she had gone with her grandmother into the heavens.
Cinderella. There once lived a pretty young girl called Cinderella, with her father, stepmother, and two stepsisters called Drizella and Anastasia. The stepmother and her daughters were very cruel, making Cinderella do all the chores.
Cinderella! Cinderella! Look at the time! Cinderella still hasn't brought in my tea. Ooh, I feel a headache starting.
I'm sorry, Mother.
Stop making excuses, you lazy girl.
Just then, Anastasia calls out for Cinderella.
Where has that lazy thing gone? Where is my dress you were supposed to iron?
I was just going to bring it up to you.
Look at you, you filthy thing. Wash yourself before you touch my dress, dirty wretch.
This was poor Cinderella's life. Every day she toiled from morning to night, doing all the household work. Every night, tired, she went up to the attic where she slept on a bed of straw. One morning, when Cinderella was in the kitchen, she heard her stepmother and sisters talking very excitedly.
Mama, this is an invitation for the prince's ball. He has invited all the pretty ladies of the kingdom to find his bride among them. Mother, Anastasia, we have to visit the dressmaker to make beautiful gowns. Oh, I am so excited.
I am going to get a green gown and wear my lovely emeralds with it.
And I will get a gown in ice blue and wear my dazzling diamonds and sapphires with it.
My daughters will be the belles of the ball, I'm sure.
The next few days, Cinderella's stepmother and stepsisters visited dressmakers, hairstylists, jewelers, and shoe shops, while poor Cinderella did all the work. Finally, the day of the ball arrived. With Drizella, Anastasia, and their mother getting dressed, each kept calling out for Cinderella to help them get dressed and make last-minute touches to their makeup.
The coach has already arrived. We'd better leave if we are not to be late.
Cinderella's father, stepmother, and stepsisters left for the ball, and Cinderella kept looking till they were out of sight. She then went to the kitchen and sat down among the cinders.
Oh, Mama, why did you go away and leave me?
Suddenly, a blue light filled the room. Cinderella rubbed her eyes to see clearly and saw a queer old lady with soft white curls on her head. Her dress had flounces and jewels sparkled on her dress. In her hand she had a wand, the tip of which glowed blue.
Who are you?
I am your fairy godmother. Now, stop crying and tell me what the matter is.
Nothing is the matter.
Then why are tears streaming down your cheeks? Ah, I see. You're upset because you could not go to the prince's ball with your parents and sisters. Now stop crying. You are going to the ball.
Really? I can go to the ball?
Of course, my dear.
But how, Godmother? I have nothing to wear and no way of going there.
Can you get me a large pumpkin?
A pumpkin? What for?
You ask too many questions, child. Just do as you are told.
Cinderella brought a big fat pumpkin from the garden. The fairy touched it with her wand, and before Cinderella's amazed eyes, the pumpkin changed into a beautiful coach.
Now we need 6 horses to draw the coach. Go and fetch me 6 mice.
Cinderella quickly got the mousetrap from the kitchen corner. The fairy touched the mice with her wand, and they immediately turned into 6 beautiful horses. Next, the fairy godmother changed a nice fat rat with big whiskers to a coachman, and 6 lizards into footmen.
Well, there we go. All set for the ball. Now why do you have that gloomy look on your face?
Fairy Godmother, how can I go to the ball dressed in these rags?
Silly child. I haven't forgotten about your clothes. Come here, stand in front of me.
One touch of her wand, and lo and behold, she was transformed into an absolutely beautiful princess, in a shimmering dress of gold and silver with shining precious stones. Her hair was piled up into a fashionable style with a dazzling tiara on top, and on her small, slim and pretty feet were 2 pretty glass slippers.
Oh, Godmother, is this me?
Yes, dear, it is indeed you. You're beautiful to look at, and a loving soul also. Now off you go to the ball.
Cinderella hugged her fairy godmother and started towards the coach.
Just a minute, child. Remember, my power will stop at the stroke of midnight. the coach shall become a pumpkin, and you shall be back in your rags. So make sure you are home before the clock strikes midnight.
I will remember that. Thank you so much for everything, and goodbye.
Cinderella sat in the fancy coach and left for the ball. When she reached, the ball had already started. As Cinderella stepped in, everyone turned to look at her. Cinderella stood uncertainly at the door when the prince himself came forward to guide her in.
I don't think I have ever seen anyone as beautiful as you. Would you please dance with me?
Cinderella let the prince guide her to the dance floor. She couldn't believe that the prince himself wanted to dance with her.
Who is that creature, Anastasia? Doesn't she look familiar? She is a bit pretty, but she can't compare with us.
The prince shall soon leave her and make his way to us.
However, the prince couldn't take his eyes off Cinderella. Cinderella had never enjoyed herself so much in her entire life. When she glanced at the clock, it was about to strike 12. She pulled herself away from the prince and ran down the stairs. In her hurry to leave, one of her little glass slippers fell off. The prince ran after her, but Cinderella was nowhere in sight. As he turned away, Cinderella's little glass slipper caught his eye.
This is the slipper of the lovely lady I have spent the evening with. This has to be love, for I cannot think of a life without her now. Oh, my love, I will find you and will make you mine.
The next morning, the prince called for his courtiers.
Take this glass slipper to every corner of the kingdom till you find the fair lady whose foot it fits.
The courtiers went to each and every home to search for the prince's sweetheart. Finally, they reached the house where Cinderella lived.
We have been sent by the prince. All the fair ladies in this house are requested to please try on this slipper. The one whose foot fits this slipper shall be the prince's chosen wife.
Drizella, come quick. The prince's courtier has come with a slipper. The prince will marry the one it fits.
Oh, I'm sure I'm going to be the chosen one. You may try it on also if it makes you happy, sister.
Always full of yourself as usual. Here, boy, let me try it on.
Anastasia tried the slipper on, but no way would her large foot fit into the tiny slipper.
I don't think that slipper can fit anyone other than a child.
Drizella then tried the slipper. Her foot was slimmer than Anastasia's, but it would not fit into the slipper, though she tried to squeeze it in every way possible.
Excuse me, ladies, is there any other lady in this house?
Of course not. You are just wasting your time. No way will this fit the foot of a lady.
As the courtiers were about to leave, they caught sight of Cinderella near the kitchen door.
This young lady has not tried on the slipper. Please, this way.
Oh, I don't think.
Come. Every lady must try it on.
Cinderella came forward shyly and hesitantly to try on the slipper. She slid it on, and the slipper fit her perfectly. Her stepmother and sisters were shocked.
When did she go to the ball? I don't believe this. Oh, will someone get me my smelling salts?
We have good news, Prince. We have with us the young lady whose foot perfectly fit the glass slipper.
The prince immediately recognized Cinderella, even though she was not wearing the grand clothes that she was wearing on the day of the ball. The king and queen were also overjoyed that their son had chosen such a beautiful bride.
My darling, I would have recognized you no matter what you wore. You have stolen my heart, and I cannot wait to make you my princess.
There was great feasting and rejoicing in the kingdom when the prince married Cinderella. Cinderella's family was also invited, who were very repentant of the way they had treated her. However, the good soul that Cinderella was, she forgave her family.
I am blessed to find such a wonderful husband. I shall request him to allow my family to stay at the palace also. I wish I could see my dear godmother just once more to thank her.
Cinderella and her prince lived happily for many years, ruling wisely over their kingdom.